Well, joining me today to look through those are the Times columnist Melanie Phillips and Ian Dunt, editor of politics.co.uk. Welcome to you both. Melanie, let's start with this front page of the Jewish Chronicle. Stephen Pollard, their editor, making it clear that in his view, not just to Jewish people, but to non-Jews, Jeremy Corbyn should be unacceptable because of his anti-Semitism.
Well, first of all, on journalistic terms alone, I think it's a tremendous front page. I mean, Stephen has great talent for what I would call tabloid projection and display, and I mean that as the highest compliment. And there's no question but that he's touching a very raw nerve in the Jewish community. To say that there is widespread alarm, dismay and fear, real fear, among British Jews about the prospect of a Jeremy Corbyn prime ministership is not an exaggeration at all. People are extremely concerned. There is talk that British Jews may leave the country if he becomes prime minister. I would have thought many others might wish to leave the country as well because of the danger he poses to the nation's security and economy and all the rest of it. So there's no question, but in my mind, that the Jewish Chronicle has hit a powerful chord, is saying something that's true. I do, however, have a reservation about a British Jew myself, as a British Jew myself, about this whole thing about Jeremy Corbyn's supposed anti-Semitism and the anti-Semitism of the Labour Party. And in my view, there's no question but that the Labour Party has become institutionally anti-Semitic, regardless of whether individuals are. I make no comment about Jeremy Corbyn's personal views, but what they're supporting, the agenda they're supporting and the kind of comments they've come up with, and more particularly their failure to shut it down, is exceptionally troubling.
However, what would you point to, say this is institutionally
well, comments that are coming out, that have come out over the last few years from Labour Party supporters, calling Jews, saying that basically Jews run the world, Jews are responsible for skewing the foreign policy of the West in favour of Israel. Much of this is to do with Israel. A lot of confusion, therefore, about whether it's legitimate to criticise Israel. Of course it is, but in my view it goes over the line. If you start saying that Israel has no right to exist, you are identifying that as one country as the only country for whom that is likely, calling it a Nazi country, calling Jews Nazis, identifying Jews with the Holocaust, denying the Holocaust. These things go over a line. No question in my mind but that that's been happening. However, the Conservative Party, in order to win this election, has, in my view, weaponised the Jewish community, has weaponised anti-Semitism. And if one is concerned to damp down anti-Semitism, then I do have my doubts about whether, if people think, it's the Jews who are going to prevent Jeremy Corbyn from becoming Prime Minister, or if you're a Brexit supporter, well, I can't support either Boris's deal or Nigel Farage in case Jeremy Corbyn comes to power. I'm being told, therefore, that in order to stop anti-Semitism, I can't have Brexit. That's not going to play very well for the Jewish community.
Ian, what do you think?
It's a really difficult situation, this one, especially we have it a lot among Remainers who've spent, in many cases, a lot of the last few years concerned about Labour anti-Semitism. Now, many of us face the situation where you just think, there is no route to another referendum towards solving the Brexit issue without a Labour government being in place, hopefully in a minority situation. But for many people, the sort of private communications you have are just going I can't hold my nose on this. So people are completely torn between these sort of moral laws. For me, personally, I have to look at the individual MP, if it's a Labour MP that you're considering supporting, and thinking, what is this person doing within the Labour Party? If I think that they are someone who is working within the organisation for change, I can feel personally morally OK with that vote.
Right.
If I feel that they are part of a sort of culture that has relentlessly ignored anti-Semitism, then I wouldn't be able to feel comfortable with that, regardless of the Brexit issue. But that's only a personal moral judgment.
I mean, we have a number of Labour MPs leaving the party because they can't stand it. Ian Austin would be one example, Louise Ellman, all the others. I mean, and Tom Watson was, one of the things that he was standing up against was anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. I mean, has the battle been lost within the Labour Party?
No, I don't think so. And I'm always a bit wary when that happens quite early on. Some commentators would say any vote for Labour is a vote for anti-Semitism, or anyone that supports Labour is an anti-Semite. And I think that cannot be true. That is simply too simple a way of looking at it. There are obviously people within Labour, and I would say the vast majority of the parliamentary Labour Party, who are not of this persuasion, who are laying the fight. And if you think, where do we go from here? It seems to me that a perfectly valid strategy is to try to help those within the organisation change it, rather than say that we will not support the organisation in any way.
I think that's a very decent set of instincts, and I think a lot of decent people are going to have exactly the same dilemma that you have identified, and possibly going to come to that conclusion that you've come to. However, bottom line is that although constitutionally we all vote for a constituency representative, a member of parliament. We don't vote for a party and a prime minister. We vote for the person. That's true. However, by voting for your decent Labour MP, and indeed that decent Labour candidate, you are all basically helping put, not you personally, people like that are going to help put Jeremy Corbyn into power. That's their aim. Their aim is to have a Labour government. And consequently, they can't then say, well, you know, I voted for a decent guy and let's hope we can pull this back. Once he's Prime Minister, that's it. He's Prime Minister.
Okay.
That's the dilemma.
Thank you both very much
Thank you.
indeed. Hope to see you in the next hour. Thank you.